So I'm going to start this evening in a seated posture, but I'm going to take it into something called hero's pose. So you could use the block and just place that underneath your bottom. So it's underneath your sitting bones, and bring the knees together. Allow yourself to come back, and the heels ideally want to be to the outside of the hips and the toes pointed backwards. I'm going to sit up nice and tall, just have a little bit of a wriggle round in the pelvis area to find a neutral position for the spine so that we can sit up nice and tall and relax the shoulders back a little bit. I'm going to have the hands palm down and let ourselves just slow our breath down a little bit so that we can start to focus on ourselves, on the mat, and in the moment of every breath. It helps to close the eyes, by all means do. Now, I'm going to open my eyes, let the arms float out to the side. I slowly lift my palms up towards the sky and see if I can bring them together above the crown of the head, and exhale them back down again. So I'm deliberately slowing the breath and the movement down together. Give the nervous system enough time to fire up those muscles so it's nicely connected. And then I'm going to slowly lift up, move my block out to the side, and down towards the bottom of the mat. Allow myself to come up onto all fours. I'm going to take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. So just drawing the chest forwards, roll the shoulders back, tailbone points towards the sky, and then we can tilt the pelvis down again. Draw the belly in and round through the spine, press into the hands. Get that nice stretchy feeling into the top of the back. Coming forwards again, and careful not to pull on the neck too much. So we don't want to try and lift the eyes towards the sky. We just want to let them really follow where the heart is pointing, which is somewhere down a few feet in front of the end of the mat. We'll come into neutral, toes underneath, and come into a down dog, and we're walking the toes and the hands together towards the back of the mat. Just align the fingertips and the toes together. Press the feet down. They want to be hip distance apart and parallel. I'm going to try and lift the tailbone up towards the sky, draw the belly in, and let my body float over my thighs. Bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, let myself lift up. I'll take one elevation towards the sky with the hands. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Allow myself to move slowly into that forward fold as again, just soften the knees, lifting the thighs, bringing the hands to the floor and walking the fingers gently back into a down dog. Allow myself to stretch the feet out a little bit so you can make any adjustments to the length of your down dog that you need. Let the chest sink a little, shoulders open. Press the hands into the floor, but see if you can lift all of your fingertips and your thumb away from the ground. So pressing the palm of the hand directly into the ground, rolling the armpits down towards the floor a little bit. And then we'll let the fingers rest to the floor. We'll take the feet out as wide as the mat. And we're going to walk the feet in a little bit, just so that we can get the heels flat to the ground with straight legs in the down dog shape. We'll take a twist. The left hand comes away from the floor, picks up on the outside of that right ankle, turning the body underneath, taking a few breaths here. We're making an effort to press down into the heels. You can even think about lifting your tippy toes away from the floor, just as we did with the fingertips. We'll come back to regular down dog shape to take it across to the other side. Using just a little bit of effort with this right hand on the outside of the shin to draw the body around and under. And coming back into a regular down dog shape. Bring the feet back together into that parallel stance, sitting down onto the heels. Just roll the wrists around a few times. Roll the shoulders around a few times. Take it in the opposite direction. And then we're going to slowly move into child's pose. So I'm just going to itsy bitsy spider the hands out. Laying down. Let's see if I can breathe into the diaphragm, and hopefully that presses out the ribs a little bit to the side. Just noticing how my lower back feels and the connection into the glutes. Elbows are lifted away from the floor, it's just the hands in contact. The head is down on the ground. Now slowly lift back up onto the floors. And I want to make sure that my shoulders are drawn back a little bit, but the shoulders are also equally over the wrists, the knees, underneath my hips. I'm going to take a little breath, allow myself to tuck the toes of my right foot underneath and slide the foot back. And then I'm going to pivot on the left knee and take the left foot out to the side. Rolling the right heel down to the floor, just going to adjust the left hand a little more in line with my left knee. Press my hips forwards, allow myself to lift up into a baby version of side plank. Now I'm still trying to press down into the extended leg out to the end of the mat a little bit. Now take a breath, and on the exhale, lift up onto my fingertips. Now ideally, I want to be trying to lift my body up and stretching this top hand as high towards the sky to take the weight out of my fingertips. And then keeping my balance, I'm going to slowly lift the long leg away from the floor to about the height of my hip. Now, if you find that it's painful on the knee that we're leaning on, you might find that you need to tuck the toes underneath. That just changes the pressure point on the patella a little bit. But otherwise, we're doing our best to hold ourselves up using the sides of our body. Bring the foot gently back down to the floor, the hand back down to the floor. And we'll come back into that tabletop position, just repositioning the hands as we do. Take a little breath from there and tuck the toes of the opposite leg underneath. Spin that knee out as we drop the heel on the long leg to the floor. Bring the right hand in a little more. Press the hips forwards, open out, try and keep the head more or less in line with the body. Press down through the flat foot on the long leg, and lift up onto the fingertips. Take a few breaths here to establish a sense of connection with the lift in the side of the body. And again, we're going to slowly take the foot away from the ground, lift it up, just so you can start to feel the outside of the hip, having some fun, challenging your balance, lifting tall. Abdominal muscles are kept held in to help with the balance. And then that foot comes down, hands come back down to the floor. And there we are, back into tabletop. I'm going to tuck the toes of the right foot underneath, take that leg out. I'm going to take the left leg as well. I'm going to turn gently, stack one leg on top of the other this time. Oops, a bit of a forward stumble as I take my eyes away from the floor, quicker than I thought I should have done. And we're trying to lift the hips as high as we can. The feet are flexed, we're on the edge of the lower foot. And then we'll bring ourselves back into regular plank. We set the feet, make sure we're happy, and then roll them out to the right. Stack one foot on top of the other. Hand high, lift the hips, strong legs. And then we can bring the hands back to the floor, back into our regular standard plank. And we'll lift that up into a down dog. And in the down dog, I'm going to bring my toes onto the center line at the back of the mat. And I'm going to take a round of movement into plank and back into down dog, and changing where the knee moves to. So the first round, my right knee comes into my chest. I'm then moving towards my plank position. Let's see if I can get the knee and nose to touch, and then back into down dog. Extend the leg high into a scissor, keeping the hips square. Bring the foot down side by side. Draw the left knee in, travel forwards into the plank, and then lift the body a little as I try to get the knee to nose to touch. Move slowly back into the down dog and extend the leg out. Square hips again, bring the foot down. So the next round, right knee comes in towards the chest, move forwards into the plank, but I take the right knee to the outside of the right tricep. Back into down dog, and slowly extend the leg out. So it comes down, opposite knee comes in, travel forwards, knee to the tricep, extend it out long and high. Foot comes down, another round in towards the chest. Right knee comes in, around the spine, knee to nose, down dog, extend the leg out. Foot comes down, left knee comes in, travel forwards, lift the spine, squeeze, lengthen back into the dog, leg rises, foot comes down to the triceps again, right knee in, plank, knee high as you can, back into dog, lengthen out, leg comes to the floor, left knee comes in, tricep tap, lengthen into the scissor, and bring the foot to the floor. Let yourself to come back in to regular plank, and we're going to move down gently into a forearm. So we're going to take one hand through at a time, get ourselves into a nice position, try to have the hips where we think our shoulders are. And we want to draw the shoulders away from the ears a little bit, press down through the forearms. Ideally, they'll be parallel. Elbows directly underneath the shoulders, pressing out through the heels. I want to feel the front of the thighs engage a little bit. And then we'll let the knees come down to the floor. Swing the feet out to the side. And now allow ourselves to come into Dandasana. We're going to take the feet right up into the front of the mat. Squeeze the thighs together a little bit. Just roll out of the flesh. Hands by the side. Press out through the heels. The toes come back. Spread the toes out a little bit. Now we're going to slide the heels in on the center line till the soles of the feet come to the floor, and then squeeze the knees together. We'll take the hands around the back of the thighs, close behind the back of the knee. Lean back a little bit, lift the chest, draw the belly in. Allow yourself to just slowly bring your feet away from the floor and see if you can lengthen out through pointed toes with the legs as straight as you can. And you're going to keep trying to lift the chest up, let the head follow the line of your body. And then if you're able to, you're going to try and keep the legs there. Take the hands away into a fuller version of boat pose. And then we'll bring the hands under, feet back down to the floor. Going to cross the ankles, tuck the legs back in. Hands come forward. We're going to lift up and flick back into a plank and then move into down dog. We'll take a little breath from there. Take the feet wide again. Now the feet come forward so the soles of the feet reach the floor. Take a little breath. That left hand comes across to the right ankle. The hand comes down. Move across the opposite side. Still continuing to draw the abdominals in and lifting the hips up, pressing the heels down. Trying to keep the body as centered over the center line as we can. Bring hands back to the floor. Step it back into a regular, good old down dog. We'll walk the hands towards the toes. Taking a forward bend again. And then bring hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little bit. Ease our way back up and just shake that out. One more long breath. And then we can walk into the front of the mat. Again, we want the feet to be about hip distance apart or parallel. And I'll take the hands in towards the heart. And I'll load the weight into the left leg. Slowly start to draw the right knee to about the height of the hip. And draw the knee in towards the chest. I'm just going to take the hands around the shin. And lift the knee a little higher. I'm going to release hands back in towards the heart. Slowly put a little bit of a bend into the standing leg as I ease that right foot as far away as I can into a lunge. And I'll drop the heel in and open myself up into a warrior two. Make any adjustments that you need to from your landing. I'm going to turn the palm on front hand, move our way into reverse warrior. So I'm going to simply walk the hand down that back leg and then stretch the top arm a little more over towards the back. Lift the spine up out of the pelvis. Check the front knee, feels like it's moving towards the little toe more than the center line of the mat. Press down through the back leg, keep this nice and strong behind us. We'll come back into our warrior two. Wait for the hips to stabilize. and then natural position. And then we're going to drop the front hip down a little bit and let ourselves extend out. Going to ease into extended side angle. And we'll take that hand all the way towards the front edge of the mat. So it's lengthening out through the fingertips, that nice natural line from the rear foot through the hip to the fingertips. Take a breath here, come back. Allow ourselves to lift back into warrior two. This time we're going to take the reverse warrior, but we're going to take the bind, one hand behind with the front thigh, top arm up and over. We'll come back into warrior two. Start to extend over. This time we're going to see if we can bring the front hand down to the floor. We're just going to take the top arm up towards the sky. Keep it relatively simple, opening the chest and pressing that knee and thigh and arm together at the front of the mat. I'm going to take a little breath from here and let the top arm come down to the floor and rearrange ourselves into a lunge. I'm going to take a breath from here, keeping the knee where it was on the front leg. We'll take the fingertips as far forwards as we can, shoulder distance apart, and we'll lift into a warrior three, springing off of the back foot, lifting up, come up onto the fingertips. Try and draw the chest as far forward as you can. Square the hips, press out through the heel, foot is flexed, toes are spread. And then we'll soften the front knee just a fraction, and then curl that rear foot back in, down to the floor, back into our forward bend. Let ourselves melt towards the floor a little bit more. Take a breath, and then bring the hands onto the hips. Soften the knees and a flat back. Hands come high as we breathe in towards the heart. We'll load the weights. Left leg. Knee lifts. Find the shin. Draw the knee in. Release the hands in towards the heart. Soften the knee a little. Standing leg as you take the back foot into the lunge. Drop the heel in. Opening into your warrior two. Making any adjustments or catching yourself if you need to, just as I did. And then palm turns. One hand up, one hand down. We're walking down the back leg. First version. We'll lengthen the body out, taking a few breaths here. Try and keep the shoulders relaxed. Strong legs pressing down. Get a sense of lifting from the floor. Come back in to warrior two. And then that forearm comes down. Top arm comes up. We're extending the hand out. Still lifting through the body. Turning the chest up towards the sky. Rolling that top shoulder back behind us a little bit. We'll come back into that warrior two. Turn the palm on the front hand. Reverse the warrior, this time taking the bind of the hand around the back towards that front thigh. And come back into warrior two. Lengthen forwards. And to the floor. 12 o'clock for the opposite hand. Press those front limbs together. Turn the chest up towards the sky. Back foot still pressing down and active. Use the hands down to the floor, moving ourselves into a lunge. Allow the fingers to move forwards. Press off the back foot. A little spring. Warrior 3, grounded version, admittedly. Trying to lift the torso up, so there's as little weight in the fingertips as possible. They're just there for a little bit of reassurance, like a couple of stabilizers. We'll soften the front knee again. Curl the opposite leg in down. Feet, hips apart, parallel. Fold over the thighs. And hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift up with soft knees. We'll bring the hands in towards the heart. Exhale down. Taking the right foot back into a lunge. Dropping the heel in. Bring the hands alongside the body this time to lift the torso a little. A dynamic stretch of the right hand forwards to cartwheel up into our warrior 2. We'll float straight into our arms above the sky. Rotate the chest. Lengthen out, keeping the back foot grounded. When the hands connect, the back heel lifts. We step into dog and make adjustments. Come forwards into plank. Push forwards on the tippy toes. Elbows into the ribs, bootlaces down. First up dog of the evening. Roll the shoulders back. Draw the hips high into a dog. Right knee into the chest. Through for lunge. Fingertips. Drop the hips, roll the shoulders back. Strong back leg. Push off the toes into that forward fold. Hands come onto the hips. Lift all the way up again. Hands come into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Taking the left foot back into the lunge. Dropping the heel in. Hands alongside, little torso lift. Left arm swings forwards. Draw ourselves up. Warrior 2. Float directly into the twist. Lengthen forwards and down. Spin the heel. Step it back into dog. Come forwards into plank. Shoulders away from the ears. Elbows into the ribs. Bootlaces down. Knees away from the floor. Legs lengthen. Back into dog. Left knee into the chest. For the lunge as we exhale. And then the next exhale, forward fold. Hands onto the hips, exhale up. Lift the hands high. Through the heart this time, down to the floor. We're taking the right foot back, but we're going to take a twist. So the right hand's planted. We're going to turn the body towards the left side, a closed twist. Left hand reaches up. We'll come back down to the floor. Plant the left hand. And see if we can extend the right hand up. Not quite as easy. Hands come back to the floor, onto the fingertips. We can drop the heel in, ready for warrior 2. Bring the hands along the thighs. Right arm lengthens out. And we lift. Float the arms high again. Extend out as we twist. Lengthen. Plant the hands. Safe landings. Move back into our dog. Come forwards into plank. Push forwards on the toes. So up dog. Rolling back. Shoulders. Then lift the hips into dog. Breath in. Use the exhale to lunge forwards. Take a breath at the lower point. And step it into the fold. Hands onto the hips, soft knees. We'll lift again, the hands high. Through the heart. Exhale to the floor. Left foot back, left hand down. Right arm lifts into the twist. Hand comes to the floor. Find stability first. Allow yourself to turn the torso and then extend the hand towards the sky. There's a little bracing of this front leg and arm together, pressing out through the back heel, trying to keep the hips square to the ground, belly drawn in, remembering to breathe evenly. Bringing the hands to the floor. We drop the back heel in, ready for warrior two. Torso lifts a little as we draw the hands back. Left arm lengthens and we cartwheel up into our warrior two. Hands come high as we breathe in, rotate, lengthen out and down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Come forwards to plank, half plank, to up dog, to down dog. Draw the left knee in as we breathe in. Exhale it through. And forwards gently. Take a little breath, bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Let the weight come into the toes. Those legs get a little tired. We tend to shift backwards into the heels. Not great for the knees. We're going to take the right foot back, drop the heel in. Let ourselves lift into warrior two. You can choose to continue with this more dynamic version or bring the hands onto the thigh to lift if you wish. This time in warrior two, the hands are going to come behind the back. Draw the belly in, squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit. Rotate the chest and the hips, keeping the back leg grounded. Lengthening out into humble warrior. First, we bring the torso to touch the thigh. We squeeze the shoulder blades together lightly and lift the hands towards the ceiling. We take a breath and then we slide the body onto the inside of the thigh. Hopefully the shoulder kind of connects with the thigh knee area, provides us a little shelf to rest on. Try and keep the hips over the center line. Eyes are looking towards that back foot. Keep the shoulder blades squeezing together and away from the ears. Give space for the neck. That makes it easier to breathe. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. And forwards into plank. Half plank. Keep the belly drawn in. Try to avoid dropping the head as we come into this half planks. Up dog into down dog. Right knee comes in. Foot comes through. Take a little breath. And we step forwards. Hands come onto the hips. And we let ourselves lift up. Take hands high. Hands through the heart. Exhale forwards and down. Taking the opposite leg back. Dropping the heel in. And then ourselves lift into our warrior two. Hands come behind and down. Rotate. Extend over. Breath. Lift the arms. Exhale down deeper. And we'll release the hands to the floor. Step it back into our dog. Come forwards into plank to half. Press away from the floor. Lift into our down dog. Right knee into the chest, through for a lunge. And then step it through into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips, soft lift to make our way up. Inhale high. Bring the hands into the heart. And we'll shake it out again. few deep breaths. Now, in an ideal world, your gaze would be straight ahead and the head would be lifted naturally. Unfortunately, I've got a wall very close to me and it's all the same color. My eyes just can't find anything to focus on. So I have to look down at the floor. It's the only place I can kind of catch my balance. So maybe not the ideal position, but at least I explain why it's there. Bring the hands back in towards the heart. Take a little breath. I'm going to exhale down. Stepping back with the right and the left to down dog. I'm going to take a plank, half plank, to up dog. I'm going to lift gently back into the down dog. Draw the right leg through. Take a little breath. Step in with the left. Hands come onto the hips. Lift up. I'm going to load the weight into the right leg as we take the hands in towards the heart. I'm going to slowly shift the left knee high. Take it out to the side. See if I can find the ankle. Bring the heel into the groin. Take tree pose. Now, if you're able to take the hands high, you can do. And then we're going to allow the foot to come back down to the floor. Take the hands high again, and towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Stepping left and right into down dog. Come forwards into plank, half plank. Up dog, breathe in. Roll the shoulders back. Exhale. Left knee comes in, steps through. Right foot follows from the lunge into a fold. Hands come onto the hips and we lift up. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Catch our balance as we load into the left leg. Allow yourself to lift the right knee. Take it out to the side. Bring the heel in towards the groin. And try and keep the toes away from the knee. And then we'll let that foot come back down to the floor. Take the hands high. In towards the heart. Exhale down. Taking a vinyasa. Feet come back, right and left into dog. And come forwards, plank, half plank to up dog. There's a lot of up dogs this evening. Back into down dog. You can draw the right knee through into lunge. Take a little breath. Bring the left in as well. Fold in deep. Hands onto the hips as we lift. I'm going to bring the hands in towards the heart. And then let the hands come out in front. So we're kind of joining in with early Halloween here. Kind of got the whole mummy thing going. I'm going to lift the heels gently away from the floor. And I'm going to start to bend the knees. I'm going to try and keep the spine long and flat, drawing the shoulders back a little bit. And allow myself to come down very slowly. Now I'm trying to get to a position where in my thighs, it feels like they are now parallel to the ground. They may be higher or lower, but it's a feeling experience. It doesn't have to be exact. And then we're going to slowly lift back up. Drop the heels in, hands in towards the heart. Slowly exhale down to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Come forwards into our plank. So lift up high. Down dog. Right knee comes through for the lunge. Step it forwards, hands onto the hips, and we lift high. Hands in towards the heart, into the chest. Then turn the hands forwards again, palms facing down. We're up onto the tiptoes. Taking the second chair, easing our way down. Remember to breathe. Try to get to the same place as last time. And then we slowly lift back up. Ooh, then we try to let the heels down. Didn't quite manage it. Hands into the heart. Exhale long and slow to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. And into our plank, half plank, up dog. Back into our down dog. Left leg in. Through for lunge. Step into the fold. Hands onto the heart. Let ourselves lift up. Then we'll shake it all out. As we're doing so, we'll step pretty much into the mid-range of the mat. Then with the feet about hip distance apart and parallel. Can't really overemphasize how important the feet being parallel is, because we're going to come into warrior three from the standing position. If the foot's pointed out to the side in either direction, then we tend to roll out that way as well. So we'll bring the hands in towards the heart. We'll load into the left leg. Allow ourselves to bring that right knee to the height of the hip. We're going to try and hinge from the hip, slowly taking the right foot back. We're going to lift and lengthen that out about the height of the hip. And try and get the body to be a nice long line, keeping the hips square. And then we'll soften the front knee. Ease the foot back. Starting position. Shake it all out. Bring hands in towards the heart. I'm going to soften the right leg just a fraction. Load the weight. Left knee lifts. When you're ready, draw the belly in. Keep the spine long. Try to lengthen out slowly with control. If you race into it, you tend to overcook a little bit, lose your balance. Slower you take it, the more chance you have of bringing your eye line down towards the floor gradually. Gives your whole nervous system a little more chance to be receptive to the idea of being in the pose. Pressing out through the heel, the foot is flexed, toes are spread. Slowly bring the foot back in, a little faster than needed, and let ourselves arrive. Whew. And shake that out. Now I'm going to gradually wiggle the toes together so the big toes touch. Leave a little bit of a gap for the ankle bones. Turn the palms forwards, mountain pose to compose ourselves. Fraction. Connecting with the feet, letting them spread out a little bit. I want them to be relaxed, but noticing how they feel in the floor. And as you breathe, you might notice that your body weight kind of moves around the sole of the foot a little bit. So just appreciating that that happens. We'll then bring the hands in towards the heart, load into the left leg. We're going to slowly draw the right knee to about the height of the hip, and then bring that heel in towards the buttock. I'm going to take the right hand down to find that ankle bone and allow that right knee to lower down towards the ground. Now I'm going to see if I can hold on to that ankle joint and bring thigh to thigh. I'll do my best to keep my belly in and the spine long, and allow myself to gently take the left hand up towards the sky, stretch out through the fingertips. Let's see if I can hinge gently into dancer's pose. So lifting the back knee and then pressing the shin away. Try to keep the chest and the hips square to the floor. You only need to come as far forward as you feel comfortable to do, which doesn't need to be very deep. Now we'll ease back. Release the foot to the floor. Shake that out. And we're ready. Hands in towards the heart. Start to load into the opposite leg. Knee lifts on the left. We bring the heel in to the buttock. Drop the hand down slowly, and then bring the knee back down towards the floor as you're holding on to the ankle joint. Just allow yourself to settle there, see how that feels in your body. Allow yourself to carefully take the right hand towards the sky, and then when you're ready, slowly lift the back knee and allow yourself to move forwards with the chest. Press out through the shin when you think you found your sort of edge point you can work to. And that helps hold a little bit. And we'll see if we can slowly lift back out. And release the foot gently to the floor. Whew, shake that out. Now the feet to come hip distance apart again, hands into the heart. A final exhale down to the floor. Walk the fingers into the front of the mat. The feet towards the back of the mat. And the knees come down to the floor. Elbows can come down to the floor. Just lengthen the legs away. And eventually we bring the belly to the ground. So we'll take Sphinx pose just for a couple of breaths, forearms parallel. Going to roll the shoulders back and lift the chest, draw the belly and lengthen the legs away and press the hips down very slightly. Just a couple of breaths here. And then I'm going to come down to the floor with the chin. Let the hands come down by the side of the body, palms down. We're going to take locust pose. We're going to take the full version, but we're going to lift, first of all, chest and arms away from the floor. And on the next exhale, we'll lift the thighs away from the ground. We'll take the breath in and bring everything down on the exhale. Inhale, lift chest and arms. Exhale, thighs. Breath in. Back down. Lift up. Chest. Hands. Exhale, thighs away. Breath in. And down. Take one more of these. Chest. Arms. and legs, and then release. And then we're going to bend the left knee and bring the heel towards the buttock, take the hand back. Do the same with the opposite leg. Coming into bow pose. So first of all, we want to make sure that the knees are still more or less hip distance apart. And we're going to press the thighs down and the hips into the ground to connect them. You get a nice strong connection with the hands around the ankles. Flex the feet. Let the shoulders roll back a little bit. And then press as you exhale the shins away. That gives you the chest lift. Take another breath here. Press the soles of the feet to the sky. To lift up. And then we'll come back down. Release the feet. Hands can come underneath the chin. Back to the shoulders and wriggle out the hips a little from side to side. And slowly bend the right knee. Bring the heel in. And goes back. Left leg comes in. Connect. Squeeze the thighs together a little bit. Hips into the floor, belly in. Shins away to lift. Let the shoulders roll back. Take a breath. Rest the soles towards the sky. As you breathe in, you get a little roll and rock from side to side or backwards and forwards. Try to enjoy that if it happens. And then we can release down. Just slowly bring the feet to the floor. Rock out the hips a little bit from side to side. Press into the ground to lift up for the last time. Pull the fours. Spin the feet out to the side. Whew. And let ourselves come back down onto our spine. So feet flat to the floor, knees high, hands behind, chin and towards the chest. Keep it safe for your back as you roll down. Now, if you find yourself lying on top of a big sort of knot in terms of how your clothing is underneath you, let yourself to have that little lift and adjust so it feels good on your lower back. Way of connecting to the ground. And take the knees in towards the chest. Draw the knees in. Tailbone lifts away from the floor. Squeeze the abdominals a little. We'll take the knees out wide. Let the knees move towards the front of the mat. Back into the center line. And then squeeze gently. Perhaps more with the abdominal muscles than we're using with the strength of the arms. And more as a guide to where we're going. Okay, now this time as we draw the knees together, we're going to let the chin come in towards the chest. Roll the chest in towards the knees and see if we can take a bind of the arms around the shins to take hold of the elbows. We'll let the feet come to the floor close to the bottom, the head come down to the ground. We'll take the arms out wide, roll the shoulders underneath with the palms up towards the sky. Going to let the knees roll gently over towards the right side and let them relax completely down, particularly letting the toes and the fingers wriggle through the shoulders, let that bottom leg sink as low as it can. Top leg can be a bit of a floater for many of us. Don't worry if that happens. the knees high again slowly. In the center. Let the legs roll the opposite way. And little adjustments, wriggles, movements, whatever makes it feel like a happier place to be. And let that lift. And we'll come into Shavasana. So it's going to bring the hands down along the side of the body a little more, perhaps the distance of a ruler from the side of your body. Hands, sorry, the feet. Obsessed with hands this evening. Slide the feet out to the corner edges of the mat. Let the toes just roll down. Let the eyes soften and close gently. And then we're going to lick the lips a few times. Making any little adjustments through the body as we wriggle. And then on a final exhale, letting ourselves succumb to the pose. We'll start to breathe a little deeper, wriggling the fingers and toes, letting the body connect again. We'll enhance that by stretching the wrists and the ankles, moving them around a little bit. Take a longer breath in and use that to stretch out on an exhale. And then we'll slide the heels along the floor back in towards the body. To gently give ourselves an easy hug. Whatever sort that feels right for you. And then together we'll roll gently onto our right side. Taking a breath in, using the hands to press down into the floor to lift back up. And slowly bring ourselves into a seated posture of choice. Let ourselves lengthen. Bring the hands into the heart as we take a breath in, closing the eyes. A slow exhale begins, chin drops, belly draws to the spine. A simple bow to the floor to close our practice. Inhaling, spine builds with the breath, head lifts, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. On the mat again soon.